Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Personality Pick, where you get to know your favorite personalities, UFC fighters, and more. And for this week's episode, we have a banger of a guest, UFC fighter 21-4-1, Damon Jackson. Welcome to the show.
What's going on, man? Thanks for having me.
Of course, of course. Hey, starting off quick, take me back to your last fight where you got the first round KO against Sabatini. How would you rank that amongst other fights that you had in the past, and how big of a moment was it for you in your career getting that first big win?
Yeah, it was nice. It was definitely, just the whole camp. I was doing a lot of front kicks, a lot of uppercuts up the center, a lot of knees because I saw the way he shot in. So it was nice to have the camp kind of pay off, and because a lot of times you train a lot during camp, you do one specific thing and you don't really even do it in your fight. So it's kind of like it was nice to have it kind of paying off, and the game plan go so good and it happened so quickly. It was good.
Now, was that something that you specifically trained on the whole camp? Because I heard in a previous interview that you had where you were looking out for how his elbows flared up
Yeah,
every time he
every
shoots.
time, yeah, he would level change and his hands do this, and it's like he does it. He does a lot of check hooks, so he'll throw that counter hook whenever someone throws a jab or a cross or anything, and he throws a real wide left hook, and when he does that, his elbows were coming out. He gave me that center line a lot, and I saw it a couple times. I walked in and I would feint and I would back up. I would feint and then back up. And every time I did it, his elbows got a little bit wider every time because I think he was expecting me to shoot like heavy wrestling. I figured it was gonna be heavy wrestling, but it just worked out great. Landed flush, so it was nice to like land it and to get to finish the fight then and not have to battle it out for 3 rounds.
100%, 100%. And that's obviously something that you picked up during watching tape, watching his film. And
Yeah.
a lot of people in the MMA Twitter community watch film before these fights too. How important is it in your training regimen to watch film on these guys, or is it just situational?
I think the person has to like if you want to change your game plan around someone, you can do like small little things to tweak it, but really you want to focus on someone else's skill and how they're going to take advantage of your weaknesses. So you want to fix your own weaknesses. You don't want to focus on trying to win the fight in every offensive way. You also want to focus a lot on defense. And I knew that the wrestling was going to be very important in that fight. So wrestling defense. I needed to have really good movement. So I was doing a lot of movement drills because I did have a hurt shoulder. I tore my pec, probably like a month and a half before my
Oh, wow.
fight. So it was a pretty big issue when I was going to wrestle. I couldn't really wrestle for the whole camp. So instead I switched it over to like a lot of movement, a lot of boxing footwork, and a lot of head movement. And I was hoping that I was gonna get to kind of showcase a little bit of stand up and not have to wrestle so much. So it was great how it all turned out as far as like just getting that one flush kick and not taking any damage, and it was good.
100%. And we've seen this past weekend, and it's more of a common thing. Fighters don't always show up 100% in the cage. More often than
Mhm.
not, they're not at their 100% health wise.
Yeah,
In the case of TJ Dillashaw with his dislocated shoulder,
yeah.
how often is it that you have that significant of an injury, like a pec tear, leading into a big fight?
Um, I mean, this is the first time I've ever really had any major issue like that. Like I've had broken fingers and broken toes and some pretty nasty like cuts leading up into a fight and stuff. And like those things are kind of like minor compared to what I had this time. But like as far as like anything major, I've never really had issues. I haven't had any surgeries to like repair ligament damage or any muscle tears or anything like that. So I've been really fortunate to not have that. And I think a lot of guys like TJ, where they have like multiple surgeries over and over and over, they're just more at risk to like, get those kind of tears or dislocations. So it doesn't happen that much, but it's definitely part of the game. It's not easy to it's like you do all this preparation for one night. So as far as like other sports, they have like months where they do like, they have a game every weekend, but it's not that big a deal because it's like a big build up, for the end result. But for fighting, it's kind of like you do all this super intense training for one night. So if you're not ready that one night, it's kind of like, you would want to go into the fight even if you're a little bit hurt. You kind of want to go into the fight because you train so hard for it, and it's just like some people need it financially, some people need it mentally, some people train so hard that they're just like, there's no way I'm not taking this fight. And it was just kind of like I knew that I really wanted to fight so bad, and I loved the matchup. And so once I got injured, I just kind of tweaked my game plan. And like during my camp, I was actually landing some like crazy stuff that I was never never really even trying to land because I was always just punch wrestle. And so a lot of my boxing and wrestling was just, it was great, but then the whole camp I couldn't wrestle, so I was forced to do stand up the whole time. And I was landing some really clean stuff in practice, and I was really starting to enjoy it, and I've just kind of capitalized off of that. So I'm ready to go now. I'm trying to get another fight, one more this year would be nice. And like that's something that I've just been working so hard on stand up, so it's nice to have it pay off.
Gotcha, gotcha. Now I know there's a little bit of like a staticky noise. It might be. Are you connected to the Bluetooth?
Yeah, my truck.
Okay, the microphone's a little staticky, but it's not that big of an issue.
Oh, okay.
This will come full circle though. Uh, how did you get started in the sport? What led you to start training? Was it at a super young age, or were you one of the
Uh,
late bloomers?
like in seventh and eighth grade, I started watching The Ultimate Fighter, and I kind of just like I got really obsessed with it, and I was like, oh, it's so cool. And I just saw that like in the UFC, like in the early stages of the UFC, it was like all of the wrestlers would just dominate the sport. And so I started watching it, and I was like, dude, I want to wrestle. I want to go to college, wrestle, and then I want to start fighting, and then I want to go from there. And it was just nice to have it kind of play out the way it did.
Okay. Okay. Do you have like a favorite submission that you usually tend to favor over others?
Yeah, the head and arm like is my favorite submission. Like so, arm triangle, head and arm, choke. It's like my favorite thing. It's like, it's one of those things where once I get a lot, like if I get someone on the ground and I get their head and arm together, like I know I'm gonna get that finish, and I know that I'm gonna get, some great position out of it at least. And so, head and arm is my favorite submission, and after that, I would say just the guillotine. Like I love getting guillotines in
Mhm.
practice, and just making someone like panic tap like real fast. It's pretty funny to me.
100% because I train myself and first couple of days in the jiu-jitsu class, I locked up a guillotine and I was super excited and that feeling of having someone
Yeah,
take that quick when it's so deep in, it's a different kind of feeling.
yeah, no, it is for sure. No, it's nice to just to get that feeling where like you get their neck and they have to like tap, and they have to like, that's like they're saving their life when they tap. It's funny because it's like if no one's there, if you got an asshole partner, if you got like no referee in there and someone taps, it's basically like them saying that like, hey man, you could have just killed me, like you had me, like I'm done. It's like that's why like for me when I go into fights with Pat Sabatini, what I thought was gonna happen is I was gonna hit him, and I knew he was gonna be really uncomfortable getting hit. So I thought he was gonna shoot in and give me his neck, and then I thought for sure I was gonna get that front choke like a guillotine. I thought for sure I was gonna get that. I thought it was gonna be like a mounted guillotine or a back take and a rear naked choke. That's what I thought I was gonna get on Pat. And just that feeling of making someone tap is like the best thing for me. Like knockouts are great, whatever, they're flashy, but for me, like for myself personally, I like to make someone tap, and to do that in front of a big crowd is it's just a cool thing. It's nice. And I'm definitely ready to get in there with like one of those pay-per-view cards.
100%. I think you deserve to be on one of the pay-per-view cards because you've been a highlight fight for a lot of the fight night cards. I think
Yeah.
it's time we get you in front of fans. Now we do have a couple of cards coming up towards the end of the year. Is there a specific one that you wanted to be on? Because I know you were also trying to fill in for the Bryce Mitchell fight, but
Yeah.
that didn't formulate.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame him for not taking that fight. I don't think it's like he's scared of me or whatever. I think it's just him being like, this isn't a smart matchup for me because it is a tough fight for him. And I fully 100% believe I would beat him. I would beat him on the ground. I'd beat him on the feet. And so I know that that wasn't a good move for him. So I understood him not taking it. And I was just willing to step in. And but I would love to get in there for like December would be awesome. It'd be nice to get one more in this year. And I was looking at Orlando. I was trying to get on that card, but it filled out so quick. And I think that's going to be like one of the best cards of the freaking year. There's so many
Oh
good
yeah.
fights on that card. It's freaking stacked. It's like it's definitely stacked.
Now, as a fighter, are you the kind of fighter that likes watching these events? Because there's a lot of fighters that don't seem to watch other people fight, or at least watch any of the events or pay-per-views.
Yeah, no, I rent every pay-per-view. Like I for a while, for about 5 or 6 years, I didn't watch one fight. I was just kind of like, I was trying to gear up and get focused on like my own personal stuff, like trying to, you know, I was buying houses and flipping them and doing everything on my downtime that I just had zero time and the whole sport really disgusted me because I couldn't get back in the UFC. I was so frustrated. I was trying to get back there and
You still there, Damon?
couldn't get back there, and it was so frustrating. So I just kind of stopped watching the fights for a while, and but now it's like I'm back to being a nerd. I'm watching all the fights, learning a lot, doing a lot of studying. I've really been working on my stand up, trying to figure out how I can incorporate my wrestling and stand up and mix it together well. And I watch every card. I'm actually I have some people here at my house now. I got a media room that I'm putting my big TV up right now because I want to sit in there and watch, all the fights in there and, have all that stuff just like, right there in my face. It's
Oh
pretty
yeah.
cool. I like watching my teammates, when they're going into fights, but honestly, whenever I know someone fighting, I don't, I honestly would rather just wait for the results to happen and then watch it after, it's like, yeah, I get super nervous when my teammates fight. It's like, it's not easy to watch, someone
Mhm.
get hit in the face and stuff. It's like, it's rough.
Oh, I bet. I bet the family feels the same way.
They don't watch my fight. Yeah, my family they definitely they support me and they're always like there for me. But like my girls, they're not allowed to watch my fights until after the fact. And then my wife and my immediate family they always go to my fights and everything. So yeah.
100%. Now, going into the talk of teammates, is there someone, a fighter in your gym that is up and coming, people probably don't know about, or very
Yeah.
underground at the moment that
Um.
you want to give a shout to?
Yeah, well, we have two guys that I think are just gonna freaking kill it when they get their chance to get in there. So, you guys may have know Miles Johns, but his younger brother, his name's Elijah, EJ. So EJ is just an absolute beast wrestler. He's got some insane kicks. He's a southpaw. He's coming up through LFA. He's got what it takes to be at this level right now. And then he's like one of my main training partners, him and Abdul, man. Abdul is like, he's been a part of our team for years now, and he's just like, he's an absolute killer. He just came off a big submission win, and dude's a beast. And he's one of my favorite guys to grapple with. Him and EJ both are just great for my grappling, great for my striking too. So those two guys, we have plenty. There's a whole list of guys, but as far
Uh,
as like my teammates, training partners, those two guys are the guys that I go to when I have a camp. Like I'm like, hey man, come, do it on Sunday, Saturday, whatever. And they're always down to meet up with me and do extra work. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. Now, Damon, is there a fighter that you've always seemed to like emulate yourself after, or a group of fighters?
yeah, I'd say more of a group because it's hard for me to like. I don't want to be a boring wrestler. I don't want to just take people down and not do anything. I want my submissions to be up. I want my jab to be good, and I want to land kicks and stuff like that. So for me, it was a combination. Like I love BJ Penn and Frankie Edgar. Their heart was just awesome. And then I love GSP, how smart he was with his jab and
Mhm.
with his kicks are pretty brutal, but his wrestling was like unbelievable. So Those three are kind of what got me started. And then now I've taken a lot on like hitting the front kicks and hitting the movement from Anderson Silva. I freaking love the way he was throwing his front kicks and stuff. And there's a handful of guys that I watch now that I'm kind of like, nerdy kind of fanboys, but I'm not gonna shout them out because I think that's weird to shout out other fighters. But like, I'm still a big fan of a lot of guys, and I like to watch the sport and how much it's evolved. Is it's insane how much it's involved. But I'm definitely, I'm trying to learn from everybody. But I'd say Frankie Edgar, his heart and just his drive was like huge for me. He's still my favorite fighter. And then GSP and BJ Penn, that kind of combination of guys is what got me started.
Yeah, you got all the legends in there. Now,
Yeah,
Damon,
yeah.
what do you think separates you from the rest of the division as a fighter? What attributes? It could be a couple of things, because I feel like you have a specific skill set that is a problem for a lot of the fighters that are in your division, and I think
Yeah.
that's a big reason why it's been a bit tough to get fights.
Yeah, man. Honestly, like I don't like to sit here and go like talk about myself a lot and do all this stuff, but like my willing, like I'm willing to like go all out for finishes, and I think there's just a lot of guys that are okay with like settling for decision wins, and like they're okay with doing the point system where they might land one or two takedowns during the fight, but once they take someone down, they're not going for finishes, and they might hit people with some good shots on the feet, but they're not looking for finishes. And every fight I go into, I'm looking for a finish, and I want to make sure there's no question on who wins the fight. And I think that's a big difference of my mindset, in really a lot of the guys in the sport, not just my weight class, but a lot of the guys in the sport. I think that people need to finish fights. They don't need to bitch about the judges. They need to go out there and figure out a way to finish fights. And I think, I'm 22-4, and I have 15 submissions, and I have the rest of them are TKO, whatever, and knockouts. And then I have, I think I have two or three decisions. So it's like, for me, I think that sets me apart from like most of the guys in the UFC. Not just the guys that are in my weight class, but most guys in the UFC don't have that finish rate. And like I have two decisions since I've been back in the UFC, which are super annoying. But like besides that, man, I just like um, like I'm looking for finishes every fight, and I think that's a big difference on my style compared to everybody else is that no one has that finish ability. Like no one has well-rounded jiu-jitsu, wrestling, and striking. And I think that me focusing on wrestling first was so super important to me and super important to my stride with striking and stuff. So I think that I'm just now hitting another sprint ready that pace just to go on another 4 fight win streak, and back it up again and get on 8 or 9 fight win streak, and fighting for that title in the next 2 years. So I'm just ready to go, ready to prove it, and I want to fight whoever they'll give me.
I could definitely see that happening in the future. That's for sure. Now,
Yeah.
going based off of the judging conversation, there's been a lot of complaints recently, especially from last weekend. Obviously, there's the controversial O'Malley and Yan decision. What do you think would be something that would improve judging? I know that you're a very optimistic finisher, but if it were to hit the cards, what would be a change to the judging system that would make you feel a little bit more comfortable and more confident that they got it right?
I think the education with people understanding the sport, understanding what's true damage and what's like kind of bullshit. And so the same thing with wrestling. Like if you want to take someone down, that's great, but you better be threatening them with positions and submissions and punches and everything else. Because I think that's the issue with the Sean O'Malley fight was the fact that Peter may have taken him down, but there was not one submission attempt, like not one true submission attempt there, and there's not really any ground and pound there that was like threatening. So you can't really say that those takedowns really won the fight. And I think that in me being a wrestler and me being a heavy grappler, I think that's that should mean a lot for people to understand that is that when you take someone down, you should. It's just like a position. So like, yeah, you got the position, but now are you winning that position, or is it kind of a stalemate? Because I think really it should have been stood up, or it should have
Yeah,
been like, nothing's happening. Like this is so. It's like if you're a fan of the sport, you kind of like you're like this is boring. But also as a person that wants to see the fights being finished and not going to the judges, is maybe the referee should be standing people out faster or doing things like that faster. But I think that once you take someone down, the control needs to happen quick, and it needs to be like submission attempts and punches. But who knows?
100%. 100%. Um, Now, there is a big fight this weekend in your division that might shake
Yeah,
things up between Calvin Cater and Arnold Allen. How do you think that matchup
yeah.
plays out?
Man, that's a tough one for sure. I think Arnold's gonna win, but I think it's gonna be the most boring fight you'll ever see from Cater, because Arnold's gonna like tap go, because that's what he does every time. And I'm like, everybody's like, oh, he's got this big win streak. I'm like, whatever, dude. Like, fight someone that's gonna like come at you and like just get in your face. Like, fight me, or fight some of these guys that are gonna get in your face and not let you run around and not let you do your little point system wins and stuff like that. So I think that Cater's definitely the guy that's gonna test him. And I think if he wins this fight, you can't really argue a whole lot more about what he does. But I think he's just kind of a boring fighter, and I think that this fight's gonna be the most boring Calvin Cater fight you'll ever see. So. But yeah, I think Allen gets the win. I think Cater needs to um, get moved down in the rankings. I think that Chen Sung Jung, whatever. I think he needs to be out of the rankings like towards the 8 or 9, and then I think the rankings need to shift because these guys are fighting like and I'm like, dude, like that's bullshit. Like like it should be like new people coming in like every other month.
Uh,
It's just like I don't know, but I think it's gonna be a real boring Allen Arnold win.
okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Now, lastly, before we let you get going, is there a fighter or a couple of fighters that you want to call out for a fight that I've seen on Twitter that you called out Sadiq Yusuf, Dan Ige,
Dude, give me a
those kind of
break.
fighters
Yeah. The
because
only
they've
guy
been
that's
missing.
the only guy that's responded to anything is Dan Ige. This dude is down to fight anytime, anywhere. He's like, I think we're best friends. I don't know if I want to fight him, honestly. Like, I'm like, like, dude, like, I don't want to fight you. I want to be your friend now. Like, I'm like, these guys run their freaking mouth. They're like, oh, no one will fight me. No one can beat me. Like, no one has what I have. And I'm like, shut up. Like, no, you don't. Like, no. Like you have like 8, 9 decisions. Like, what is this? Like, you have 12 wins. Like these guys are. It's a joke to me. But yeah, I've called everybody out, man. I'm trying to be nice. I don't want to be the asshole because my kids get on YouTube. I have all my wrestlers, all my kid wrestlers that I coach. They see my interviews. Like, my family sees my interviews. Like, I can't be sitting here. People see my Twitter. I don't want people like thinking negative about the way that I'm. It's a sport. It's at the end of the day, it's a sport. I don't want to talk crap about someone's family. I don't want to talk smack
Of
about what they
course.
do in their downtime, whatever. Like, I just want to fight. I want to compete, and that's it. And I think that it's there's a lot of negative things that go along with the trash talking, but I'm trying to be nice about it. I'm trying to call these guys out, and Danny Gay's the only guy stepping up. So I think that's the matchup. I'm gonna go to Sean. I'm gonna go to my manager. I'm like, hey, he wants to fight. I want to fight. We both want one more in this year. Put us on, December card, and let us headline the pay per view. Let I don't know, like we'll make it exciting. I don't know what to tell. Like, do something, man. Like, I don't know. I just want to fight, man. I don't care if it's out here. We can fight in my gym as long as like let's go. Like, I don't care.
You gotta love how game you are, dude. And Dan Ige is at rank number 12 right now, so that'll get you into that top 15.
Yeah,
If that Bryce Mitchell fight formulated and manifested, you would have been in the top 10 there if you got the win. So
yeah,
I see bright things in your future, and I'm a
yeah.
big fan. But yeah,
No, I appreciate it, man. Yeah. No, I definitely appreciate it. Appreciate all the support. I'm just trying to, stay busy and stay active. So hopefully I get one lined up this week or next.
of course, and we'll be looking forward to it. Again, Damon, thank you so much for being on the
Sure.
show. It means a lot. and hopefully we'll hear some news soon, some
Yeah,
fight news.
for sure, man.
Cool. Thanks again.
Yeah, man. All right, later.